Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. Really nice to see you all, and I hope you're having a great day. So, as the introduction went, I am John Ferguson. I sit within Economist Impact. I lead a research team focusing on globalisation, and that covers lots of things, but it definitely covers technology and AI in particular. So, with this great panel, which I'll briefly introduce in a moment, I've been really looking forward to this discussion because I am an economist. I think profit is important. Many of us may not be here if our companies were not making profit. But understandably, people also care about purpose. And that's the purpose of this panel discussion. So we have a couple of great colleagues joining us online and 3 great colleagues joining us in person. So let me briefly introduce everyone. So online, we have Roger Rahatji, who is the Vice President and Global Head of Design at BP. Roger, thanks so much for joining us. We also have Marlies Pomp, who is the Vice President of the European AI Forum, and Marlies, really grateful for you to join us online, and sorry you're not here in person, but great to have you online. On stage, let me briefly introduce Iklat Sidhu, who's the Dean of the IE School of Science and Technology. Iklat, thanks so much for joining us. We have Dr. Chandrima Ganguly, who is the Research Lead at Diverse AI. And last but definitely not least, Philip Davies, EMEA President at Siegel+Gale. So let me start in person and then turn to our online colleagues. But I really want to ask, maybe starting with Chandrima if I can, and then bring in everyone else. Is there a tension or is there alignment between these 2 powerful points, these 2 powerful concepts of purpose and profit? What do you see?
Thanks so much for the introduction, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you today. It's a difficult question because I think it really depends upon who you ask. So, full disclosure, I am a responsible AI practitioner and researcher. And the reason my job, in fact, exists is because there has been some tension that has been reported widely about the way we are deploying AI algorithms. There are many examples of this. Some of these examples you may have heard about, such as sexist credit card decisioning algorithms. You may have heard about examples such as indiscriminate use of or lack of curation of pre-training data and the inclusion of CSAM material in large language models, such as Leon 5B, and so on. For me, though, the tension arises not just because perhaps we are getting a little bit too excited about the innovations in AI, but also because I think that we're not taking a broad enough view of the terms progress and profit. At Diverse AI, we like to think about these 2 terms in a bit more of an expansive manner. So for us, profit doesn't just mean monetary profit, though it is extremely important, otherwise literally none of us would possibly be able to have our jobs right. But profit for us also means benefit. And something we like to think about in Diverse AI is who is the technology benefiting and how can we involve more people to share in the benefit of these technologies. Because ultimately, we are really excited about AI. I'm a technologist and I am forever impressed and excited to do more with the technological side of this new innovation. And in a way, that forms our purpose. So our purpose is really, how do we include more people? How do we include more end-user communities? How do we include more data producers? Not just in deciding what data is put into the model, but deciding the purposes of the model and also having more agency in the terms and conditions of its deployment and also along the supply chain of both data and model.
Thanks so much. Iklat, please jump in. From your perspective, what's the tension?
All right, so let's see if we can add tension. Actually, no, just kidding.
Absolutely.
So actually, let me give a little bit more context to this. I think there's actually a natural balance between these 2. So, I mean, just think very practically. Like every company, like Nike, hopefully you're not represented here, or maybe I hope you are, but like Nike they have to be a good citizen in the world. They cannot mistreat their workers. Other companies cannot throw garbage around. You can't pollute the environment. There's an expectation that a company is a good citizen. Obviously, it applies to using AI too. And then there's also an expectation that you deliver cost-effective products that your customers want to buy. And just to, like a little story here, I mean, just think back to Google when they first started. Do you guys remember when the Google motto was "Don't be evil"? Do you remember that?
No, but I'm going to Google it on the way home. Yes.
Yeah, just look back, okay? And for those of you who can remember farther back than that, you'll remember that Microsoft was known as the evil empire. People don't usually refer to them that way anymore, but it really was. So, when Google started, they're like, what they meant to say was, don't be Microsoft, but it came out, don't be evil. And then in the next 10 years or so, they literally had arguments inside Google where the engineers are like, we can't do that. Our motto says don't be evil. And this thing is bad for our customer. This thing is bad for whatever. And the business people will say, yeah, but you need some business focus or whatever. And I mean, literally, it was like don't be evil became a problem inside the Google culture. And eventually, they got rid of it. They actually got rid of it, and they changed it to do the right thing, or something very close to that. Because that, do the right thing, do you mean for the business? Do you mean, it's just vague enough that you can basically be doing something good, but it kind of speaks to there really is a balance between profit and intention and ethics and all these things, and companies just have to live in that space.
Right. Right. Philip, let me bring you in here before I turn to our colleagues online. There are some examples. I like exploring the tension. That's my job as a moderator, is to find where these things are not always perfectly aligned. But we caught up the other day, and there are clearly some examples where some companies have been able to get this in perfect alignment. Actually, making profit is at the center of their purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it is.
So it can be possible, despite my
It should be possible, but I suppose the two things can coexist, but they can only coexist if the purpose is a good one, or if the purpose is the right one, John. So disaster stories are quite helpful in this situation normally, and if you're looking for tension. But when you think about, say, the airline industry or aircraft manufacturing industry, and you think about Boeing. Boeing was known as the engineers company. It's where you went if you really had an interest in aerospace and wanted to engineer incredible aircraft that were great for the environment and great for passengers and great for fuel consumption, all those things, and just a great product for airlines to then purchase. So it was known as that. What then happened, and they had a purpose which was kind of lined up behind that and a set of values that really delivered on that. Then, as things sometimes do happen, they merged with another company, McDonnell Douglas. The CEO changed, and the CEO decided they weren't the engineers company any longer. They were a company that were there for shareholder value and to drive profit. Stripped so much out of the business, changed the purpose fundamentally. And in actual fact, we know the story. Now the planes are landing, and not all the parts are still on the plane that they took off with. So
not going very well, is it?
It's not going very well. It's a corporate disaster. That's because the purpose actually was not looked at properly, and it was adjusted in order to overscore and over-index on profit focus. So there's an occasion. And the great way to contrast that is just to look at Airbus. During the same period of time, Airbus have fundamentally changed how they operate, but they're now the product that airlines want, and they're the product that routinely, we hear people enjoy flying on Airbuses now. So they line themselves up right with a purpose, which is geared to that, and guess what? They're incredibly successful. They're profitable. Their margins are extraordinary, and they are using AI really well now as well in terms of how they're developing the future of flight and how they're developing great flying machines as well. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I think it probably answers your question from the Airbus point of view, but I couldn't resist talking about Boeing.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Absolutely. Let's bring our colleagues in. Marlos, are you a pessimist, an optimist? Profit and purpose always wonderfully hanging out together? Are they friends or are they enemies?
I fully agree with the previous speaker. I think most startups, companies, they don't start with the intention to harm anyone with AI, but it can be the outcome. So that's why we should have a lot of discussion about the ethical aspects and human-centric AI, because when they start, it's nobody starts with a bias or only the profits, but it can be the outcome. And for example, I think the bad examples can help, but also we have to think more about the infrastructure. For example, the large language models like OpenAI, they are all in the hands of some people, centralized. So we should think more about other infrastructures, more decentralized, which can prevent the negative side or too much focus on the profits. So we shouldn't leave these companies by themselves because they don't start like this. I hardly know any developer or any company will only start for the profits, but it can change. And the Boeing example is
Right.
speaks for itself.
Right. Thanks so much, Marloes. Roger, thanks for your patience. You're an interesting, BP's on an interesting journey itself. I mean, how is this? There has to be tension. Don't tell me there's not tension between purpose and profit, but how has that tension played out from your perspective?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that sometimes tension is the very thing that gets you to alignment. It's the very thing that pushes you to find the impact that you need to make. I think that when you look at purpose and profit, it's that to get to profit, you many times have to have that purpose. And in many ways, you have to look and see what is the true vision and direction that a company is going. In our company, we have many things that we're looking at with AI use cases across the globe, and I oversee design, the digital side of design, user experience across the globe. I'm the first design leader and designer permanently in the 100-year history of this company to be able to help us move into more of a digital transformation. And in the cusp of all that, AI is in the midst of all that. And when we look across the globe, and I pretty much oversee about the experience that we're trying to create in a better way, over 200,000 screens across the globe. When I start to look at what we have, we have to have a healthy level of tension to be able to think in a way to be able to make change, to not just going through a digital transformation for our company, but also to make an impact for the difference that we need to make for our planet. And we're on a journey where we're harnessing human experience design to reimagine energy for people and planet. For us to be able to do that for not only our generation, but generations to come, we need to be able to embrace that tension and to be able to hold on to the vision of change and the purpose of change. I think that the key here that I see in a lot of things with what's happening with AI, where things may start getting more and more intense, is when we start losing sight of what it really is all about. And that's how to make this better and lives better for humans. This is about humans. This is about people. This is about experiences that people have all over the world. And that's what really drives a lot of our brands, a lot of our companies. Somebody mentioned Nike even too. I mean, these are fundamental things and core things that all companies have. We're all looking to see how we can engage people, how we can meet their needs, solve their challenges, and create experiences for them or for us, and even a better life and even a better planet. When we lose sight of that and we allow AI to, or profit to be able to take over that particular purpose, then we might find ourselves in a place that may be the opposite of the healthy tension that we need.
Right. Roger, let me just follow up on that one. Again, I'm an economist, so I get the profit side of the private sector, absolutely. But I've been in a couple of sessions, and I haven't been in every session of this great conference, but I've been in a couple. And there's been a challenge getting everyone on board internally with how AI is being experimented and deployed. So when it comes to purpose, you don't have to give your whole game away, but internally, do you have struggles? Do you have challenges getting everyone in BP focused on the purpose that you think you should be focused on?
Well, so it's a really great question, because I think first and foremost, we as a company have already defined that our purpose and our aims are very much focused on what we can do for people and planet and helping put people and planet on equal footing. So that's already a given. We already have that purpose. Now, aligning that to how we leverage technology and AI to help us get there, I think it's not necessarily question of whether we should or we shouldn't. I think every single group across our company is working hard to find ways to be able to leverage those things to be able to accelerate that and to be able to align with the purpose that we have as a company, our aims. And when we first announced our aims back in 2020, we had 5 aims to help us get to net zero as a company and 5 aims to help the world. And I think that purpose hasn't changed. And so with AI, we want to be able to move forward to accelerate that purpose, of course, and how that can help. And we're beginning to use that in different ways. But you're right about like not having everybody aligned yet. We were one of the first companies, if not the first European company, to take part of Microsoft's Copilot program, or at least one of the largest. And so we've deployed Copilot to hundreds and hundreds of people now as we're building up, and Copilot across the hopefully across the globe will expand. And it takes time for people not only to get access to Copilot or tool like that, but it also takes time for people to understand how they're going to use that. So it might not be that there is like obvious tension where everyone's saying no. It may just be a myriad of things where people are still learning or adjusting or getting access or trying to figure out what is the best way to use this, what's the most exciting area of our business to be able to apply that and invest our money, or what's the most needed area to invest, what's our biggest challenge or struggle, and who do we need to help first and help most.
Right.
And we can see that all over the world.
Right. Thanks so much, Roger. We'll definitely come back to both of you. I do want to explore...
Let me just say the legal group's going to be the last in his group.
Well, actually, we've already begun talks there too, so it's happening simultaneously.
Then your accountants. Your accountants will be then. Yeah.
Accountants are already taking advantage of it. Actually, our CEO used to be our CFO, so trust me, he's really on this.
Yeah. I'm joking with you, by the way.
Sure. But listen, jokes aside, I love jokes. Don't worry, I'm Australian. They're all very, very funny. But I do like this notion that you can't share everything inside of a company, but not everyone's on board the same purpose at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to name names? Do you see clients? Do you see customers? Do you see people out there who are actually grappling with this internal purpose question because AI is throwing up so many interesting questions?
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, okay. I mean, on one side, AI, the generative AI particularly, it's the most natural, easiest technology to adopt because it's incremental to every business model. It's in natural language. You can speak in any language to it and in natural language. Like there's nothing that really stops anyone from using it and being more productive. On the other hand, there's the standard things that people are worried about. There's, of course, the job loss topic. There is, fear, friction. There's all the things you can hurt your brand, things like that. I think the one that people really don't mention enough is misinformation. Like a good marketing campaign is probably a good information campaign, but, misinformation is that, but when it's not for a good purpose.
But what do you mean? Do you mean the company putting it out themselves, or do you mean someone else? I mean someone else?
No, I don't actually mean a company. If you look at kind of more broadly what's going on, a state, sponsor of a misinformation campaign would probably spend 20 million euros or dollars or whatever to implement a broad-scale misinformation campaign, maybe to get a person elected that they want, or whatever they want to do with their topic. And that, with generative AI, just as everything becomes more efficient, just like marketing becomes more efficient for the company, misinformation becomes more efficient, and that price is going to drop to $10,000 or euros. So it's not going to be long before everyone who has any point of view in the world to make can multiply their point of view, misinformed or not. I think that, that verge of possibly being at the loss of truth is kind of the bigger issue. I think, for me personally, 95% of the concerns people have on AI, I think they can be managed. I don't see, I don't want to minimize any of them. I think, some are more real than others. But I'm much less worried about those. I think misinformation is probably
And just to be
bigger-
clear, because I mean, many of us and my colleagues at Impact, we do think about misinformation a lot, but that's definitely a societal challenge, absolutely. But
Yeah.
you also think this is a challenge for companies and organisations, because what you think they could easily be the subject of misinformation campaigns that would hurt them commercially or reputationally.
Yeah,
Right. So I just want to be
absolutely.
clear. It's not just a societal problem, but it's also a company level problem.
It's a company problem in two ways. It's what other people are going to say about you, and it's about when everyone has this super powerful tool, your good marketing, how much airtime or visibility, can you distinguish it anymore? And when everyone starts to doubt everything that they see, how effective is that communication later? I think there's a whole bunch of pieces to it.
That's incredibly challenging. Wow. All right.
So we just need a solution. That's all. So
Yeah.
if you guys...
we got 20
All
minutes.
that?
You know, with a solution in 20 minutes.
It's
It's a broader
misinformation.
discussion. In the Netherlands, we started
I'll
the
come to you next.
discussion about or disinformation. But at this moment, we have the discussion about synthetic media because almost all information will be, there will be some AI used in text, video, speech, whatever. And sometimes it's not a problem, but we do expect that organizations, but also, for example, the police department or the government, it takes a lot of effort to prove who did send this message and is it disrupted by AI in which manner. In the AI Act within Europe, there are some first, so you have to, for example, if you are using deepfakes, it's possible, but you have to say it's a deepfake or, for example, a chatbot. It's first step, it's not enough. There are also some technical solutions needed. For example, if you take a picture that you can prove the history of the picture, for example, and that you can prove which adjustments are made. But I don't think we should talk about disinformation because it narrows the discussion. It's much more than disinformation. It's the psychological effect of AI is used in all media, whether it's text, video, speech, whatever.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Mala. I mean, John Dreamer, can I bring you back in? I guess the question now I wanted to get onto is like guardrails. What should organisations be doing? Because there are clearly some major threats out there, and even if companies have a great purpose, and they are genuinely purposeful and trying to do the right thing, it sounds to me from the last 5 minutes there are a lot of challenges for companies out there balancing profits and purpose. You have a great sort of position and seat there in a couple of organisations that you work for, but how do companies deal with it? What are the guardrails that people should be putting in place to maybe protect their reputations, protect their purpose when they are trying to be purposeful? How do you think about that?
Yeah. So the good news in all of this is that companies, certainly companies that I work for, already are thinking about what kind of guardrails to put in. There are frameworks out there, responsible AI frameworks, that sort of try to operationalize this sort of question. So these frameworks start from, trying to identify which stakeholder groups are involved in your problem. And this is going back to Roger's point. How do you choose an effective use case? Perhaps a use case for generative AI, which is minimal risk, would be knowledge graph discovery for unstructured data. This is not, being deployed on a human, but is an automation step that will save companies billions and billions of dollars, rather than having to do it by hand. So use case selection is really important. Then selection of data sets. If you're training a model from scratch, making sure your supply chains are transparent about where you're getting the data from, involving diverse groups of data producers. Then you have the model training itself. Have you set your model target, and how do you assure that that target is aligned to the purpose that you put out right there? How do you make that translation? And that is not an easy task in itself, but there are methodologies to do that as well. Then you have things like fairness, making sure that the model target, in the case of decisioning models, is kind of unbiased against all your user groups. For generative AI, this is a slightly more difficult question, one that I am actually trying to answer in my work. because there is no gold standard that you can use to evaluate generative AI models. By definition, they're generating content to mimic humans. And this is also where your point about misinformation came out, right? So our approach is to really develop evaluation strategies, metrics, benchmarks that are born out of participation, that are born out of involving people who wouldn't usually be. And then, of course, at the end of that, you have to make sure that the model structure and the pipeline that you have built is robust. So you perform lots of red teaming, security checks, do some checks on adversarial attacks, and possibly find some vulnerabilities in there. And at the end of the day, you have to see the framework in a larger context, in a larger social context, a larger political context. So the AI ethics is where I think this comes in. So what kind of labor practices do you have in the creation of these data sets and models? How are you deploying it? How do you make sure that you're monitoring the effect of these and doing a scanning of the impacts of your models? So the good news is that there are frameworks out there. They are being used, and actually I have been quite heartened with how the technology has been progressing, both in terms of the kind of research that is being put out there. I'm really excited about the open source community coming out with these widely available models. And I'm also really excited about the fact that we have really small models now. They're edge models that are performing really well. So we don't have to worry about tons and tons of server and compute and have to worry about sustainability. So I think it's actually a really exciting time for the fields.
I like your optimism. Maybe a bit too optimistic for me for what I wanted to do today, but that's great. And just quickly, before I bring Philip back in, from your knowledge and everything you've just said, are companies making progress? Are they going in the right direction? Or is it just we're still at the early stages of embedding lots of those best practices that you just described?
So it really depends on which company you're talking about. The companies that I have been involved with are really worried about this. And it's not only just from an optics perspective.
So they're worried, then making efforts.
Yeah, they are, absolutely. Right. And they are actually worried about the purpose of their putting out, or what they're putting out into the world. And they're worried about their customers as end users. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll come to you in a moment. Philip, I know you've been nodding, so thanks for your patience.
You're coming to me for some pessimism.
Could you please, too much optimism there in the middle. Could you just add some realism over here? But yeah, I know you've thought a lot about companies' purpose, and I mean, our colleagues are making great points, but how do you see some of this?
I got excited listening there in terms of the misinformation. Not that I'm excited by misinformation, but it's a truth, but it's also, I think, the other aspect of that is just putting out the wrong communications. And so there could, we see so many examples of kind of corporate self-harming when they are trying to be something they're not, and they're trying to say something else about themselves, and then really not delivering on that.
So if you join these conversations, is the worry for you, Philip, that a company slightly gets their purpose messaging wrong, and it somehow gets picked up, and that's an easy target for misinformation? You can imagine the sort of things that could be created off maybe some of these errors that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, a fundamental lack of skill in order to how to construct what a purpose statement should be is something we come across the whole time. So you'll get organizations who may take an outside-in approach to what they think their purpose should be. Our approach at Siegel+Gale, and everything is founded on the principle of simplicity, is to take a inside-out approach. Who are we, and what can we deliver, and how can we live with that? So you will find, I mean, I like disaster stories, as I said. So things like you'll do some research groups about what do young people need to see, what do they need to see. So there's two cans of soda. That one's the original, one's considers itself better. How are we going to connect with young people when the other one is actually rising in age? So they do focus groups. They find out young people like to protest at the moment. They like to get involved with causes. They like to do all that. They end up with this kind of Frankensteinian mash of a brand story, which comes out as a purpose, which goes into a TV commercial, which is featuring Kendall Jenner, and they have to backtrack on it. And it's a disaster on YouTube, and then people think, I don't want Pepsi, I'll go to Coke. So I think when you start to try to be something you're not, that's always
authenticity.
So you've got to be absolutely authentic, and that comes from really figuring out what your purpose is. Right. So many purpose statements are just lame.
Well, some remind me of Iklat's point about, was it Microsoft or Google do the right thing? It almost becomes so abstract and broad.
It's meaningless.
Yeah. It can't annoy anyone.
Yeah.
I think that's the real challenge.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that's interesting you say that, Philip. I think there's going to be a future where there are going to be more ways for us to reach people. So, for instance, I truly believe that in the future, potentially, there could be multiple versions of ourself virtually, right? And there are multiple versions of AI being trained by our very DNA, if you will. And so there might be one of me in one virtual arena and another one in another virtual venue. Some maybe taking a call for me in some Teams call and then doing some other task for me, right? And so there's multiple versions of myself. I kind of refer to it as the multi-potentialite concept or multi-potentialites. But in that, you will see that brands might have to cater to multiple versions of myself differently. And brands will begin to kind of market differently to all the different various things that I need and all the different tasks that I do in my ultimate versions of myself. Consequently, companies might even hire you differently based upon how many versions of yourself there are, perhaps in the future. And so, what you bring to offer through all the AI extensions of yourself, or digital twins, or if you will. So, I think that what you just said, Philip, was great. But I think that also brands are going to have to evolve. Because I might want Pepsi and Coke at the same time. So there's going to be multiple things that I'm going to want, and it's going to be based upon all the different versions of myself that are working for me to do stuff in the future.
Yeah,
Isn't here yet.
Roger, that's really interesting. There's this version of myself, but you should see me at the weekend. You know, it's really quite different. But it's true, and we often look at brands and okay, so they'll have a voice, but we need to find various different accents because we manage global brands. So they have to, appeal in different places, and they may have to adjust their behavior, but it always has to ladder up to the same positioning idea. I don't need to tell you that, Roger, of course, but it has to always ladder up. But it can have adjustments, nuanced ways of being. And we manage American Express globally, and we've been working with them for over 20 years now. So there's ways that we look at that brand. And it all ladders up to the same universal statement to realize your potential, but it manifests itself fundamentally differently depending on where you are in the world. And
it's a great comment because that's how you're going to be able to trust all those versions of yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't trust the other versions of yourself, you've got another problem.
Yeah. So just for everyone,
Yeah.
Yeah, jump in, please.
Sorry.
Please.
I just want to make one other point since you brought up like different versions and like the trust aspect of it. We've been talking about tension in AI, right? And what has that done for the brand of AI? Every time I go to like a dinner party or something, someone asks me, do you think AI is going to replace my job? Or is there going to be a super robot and they're going to kill us? And it's always really like AI is out here to harm us all.
We watch a lot of movies, Chandrima. Will Smith and all these things.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, why has this happened?
Well,
right?
I mean, it's a great comment, but here's the thing. If you watch an AI movie and it's just nice and it just helps you out, and the movie is just not exciting.
I get it. So that's exactly my point.
They wouldn't make money. See, it would not make a profit.
Right.
Niklas,
There
see?
you go. But
leave that in the world of fiction.
Yeah.
Because in this world, that's hopefully not the AI we're making.
No, but also that's exactly my point. Then we have a choice to make a different AI.
AI needs branding.
The same fear has been around for a long time, right? So the Industrial Revolution in the United States, with many years ago, with the Luddites that led the revolution against the machines and so forth. You've seen this over the years. As a matter of fact, back in 1955, when John McCarthy created the concept of thinking machines and they coined AI or artificial intelligence at Dartmouth College, almost 70 years ago. We as a world went through 2 different AI winters in the history of AI because of that fear. So I think that's steeped in just human behavior and human need. But at the same time, in 1955, Henry Dreyfuss wrote the book on designing for people. And so if we are thinking about, again, putting humans at the center of this and actually how we really allow it to augment us and build up our capabilities, then perhaps that's a way to dispel the fear, like you're saying, Doctor.
And I just say that
Jump in.
the 3 laws don't work. Just FYI.
Right.
If we're going to make this new future with AI, don't use the 3 laws, because that actually does lead to what happens in iRobot.
Yeah, we got to do it differently.
You have to do it
Second time
you have to
lucky.
do it slightly differently.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if Asimov would agree, but yes. That's a good point.
So we just got not long left, so let's just wrap. We've got a couple of questions. Thanks so much for sending them in. Marloj, can I just ask you one question from the audience here? Marloj, how would you sort of how does AI factor the cultural component or factor in the cultural component here when we think about purpose? Milos, what do you think?
I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
How does AI factor in the cultural component? How should we think about that?
Yeah.
It's a tough one. And
It's a tough one. Thank you for giving me this question.
I just wanted to bring you in, Milos. I just want to share the wealth.
No, I think at this moment we are just at the beginning to figure out how this will affect the culture. Of course, AI in research, it started 50 years ago, something like this. But the discussion in main public just started with ChatGPT and so on. And of course, it's the movies, but also journalists, they want to highlight the risk. And I fully agree with previous speakers. We are already using AI and we can't stop using it. For example, with all the cyber attacks, we can't stop using AI to to handle all these attacks, and also for the economy or healthcare, we can't stop. So it's already in our culture, but we are not aware of it. But it's already there. But there will be an exponential growth, and we have to. It's difficult to how it will affect our culture. In the Netherlands, we have 25 ethical, legal, societal labs, ELSA labs, where this is the main topic of the discussion. So in the previous discussion, it was about how can companies build human-centric AI or have a purpose. But I think citizens or customers should be involved in these discussions because the government or company can have an opinion.
Wonderful.
What human-centric AI is, it's about us. And in these ELSA labs, they have to be involved, whether it's a customer, whether it's a patient, whether it's a citizen.
Absolutely.
And I think these discussions will help to figure out what the effect on our culture is in society, but also the culture in.
Keep in mind, AI can learn culture.
Okay, good. Well, let's finish on that optimistic note because we unfortunately run out of time, but AI can learn culture. I think we need to pick that up in the break, but we've run out of time. But please join me in thanking our great panel. Milos, Roger, thanks for joining us, and thanks for joining us on stage. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.